Alright, I feel like I gotta preface this video in some kind of way because, like, we get it. I've heard all the stories, you know, ganging in the bathroom, playing this game on some shitty Dell 2000 laptop or something, right? The gazebo brackets, and of course every bracket being ran on PC, you know, at major events where they're hosting these as side tournaments. I was like, why are people playing this game? Like, I get it, poverty boys and shit, but like, what makes it worth it? Let's fast forward to Final Round 2019. I was there. I went, let's see here. No, next page. Yeah, I got 33rd along with a handful of other people. I went 3-2. Or I got sent to losers bracket by Dogura. But then I ran into this guy, Scraw Vermilion. He clapped me out. Like, I got freed up, right? My whole team can get fuzzy to shit, so he did just that. And, you know, all respect to him, I would have done the same thing. But I didn't know who he was at the time, right? I was like, alright, GG's, you know, good job in Blaze Blue. Because he got second in Blaze Blue that tournament, right? Or tag, yeah. And, my friend, he wouldn't stop talking about it. I was like, gosh, you know, like, that was Scrawt. Like, you you were holding your own, like, fairly well. I mean, until you got put in the corner, you got bodied. I was like, yeah. But I was like, I don't really know, like, who the fuck is Scrawt, right? That's kind of when I went on the kick. I started looking through old Melty Blood footage, right? So I come to find out that he's not only one of the best Melty Blood players in NA, but maybe the best. If you played Unius before, he plays Eltnum, who in this game, where she's originally from, her name's Scion. And he's just ridiculous with the character. And I started thinking about it more, and I was like, well, who else has come from this game? And that very same tournament, final round, the winner was Goichi. And Goichi, I knew he was a poverty game player, but he played Melty. At one point in time, everyone was saying that he was unstoppable. Like, he's just this uncontrollable beast in Melty Blood. I was like, alright, I gotta look at this game a bit more. Okay. There's like a pretty decent roster here. Like, here's Scion, or Eltnum as many people know her. Here's Arcadia. And you got pretty much every character you'd want. Like, here's Powered CL. This character is so sick. And then here's Arcadia again. But she's a vampire. Well, she's always a vampire. This is a demon dude. And here's, here's Akiha. There's Akiha. And that's Akiha. Yeah, and this is Shiki. That's also Shiki. One of them's got, we're not going to talk about her. Then, yeah, here's CL. And that's also CL. But this one's a badass. I mean, whatever. There's maids. There's a maid. That's also... There's a maid with a mecha maid. Here's the mecha maid by herself. Yeah. Here's a cat person. That's Arcadia. There's Arcadia with a maid. There's Chaos and Neko Chaos. Lyn. Wait, the two Lyns are this... we're just gonna pick Arcadia. Alright. So, within one character, there are 3 different games, okay? There's the Crescent Moon style, which is for the Uniest crowd, for the most part, if you're familiar with that game. This is kind of the French bread, or like the Melty Blood standard. This embodies everything about the game. So then you got the Halfmoon style, which is kind of more suited for people that are kind of familiar with Dragon Ball, maybe, right? It has a lot of auto-activation for stuff, so you're not worrying too much about system mechanics, but at the same time, you're watching them happen during the match and understanding why they're important. So if you decide to move off of this style, you'll understand what you want to do in a match. And then there's the Fullmoon style, which is more of the typical anime fighting game or Street Fighter type game, right? It's more fundamentally based. There's no reverse beat. Everything revolves around these single chains, right? You have all of your standard stuff that you would need there, and you have your heat activation, you have your spark still. Because there's no reverse beat, your normals are a lot stronger, and they'll generally have better frame advantage on block than they would in one of the other moon styles. Okay, so let's get into it. We'll just start with the Crescent style for Arc. Before we get into the actual C style mechanics, become very accustomed with movement in this game, right? So let's say in Dragon Ball, you do a jump and you commit to an air dash. After that, you have no further aerial actions that you can use. In this game, every aerial action is independent from itself. So you can double jump and then air dash, or you can instant air dash and then double jump. In addition, if you neutral jump, you can actually change where you're going with it. So you can cross people up just from a neutral jump. This can be very useful when you're trying to set up like ambiguous cross-ups, right? So you'll go with an air dash, and then you'll go in empty jump low. Alright, so standing A, crouching A, jumping B, jumping C, crouching B, standing B, crouching C, standing C. And this is 3C, which is diagonal down forward. And your shield button, which is kind of akin to a third strike parry, if that's your point of reference. So, C style, right? So the combo structure, if you're familiar with Dragon Ball, the combo structure can be very similar at like a very basic level, right? So you'll do your standard string into a sweep that leads into a standing launch. You'll jump cancel, medium heavy, and end with an air grab. In Dragon Ball, you would end with your heavy attack, right? So you would get that soft knockdown on them. And this is something similar you can do in Melty. Medium heavy, air grab. And then they're knocked down. In this game, it's important to know not only your grounded normals, but aerial normals are extremely important. Because in this game, if you get aerial counter hit, you are stuck in hit stun until you hit the ground. So, as a result, having normals like this for air-to-air combat is extremely useful. If they get aerial counter hit, then you can get a full combo on them. So what are the specials? We have a Rekka series, a Simple Strike series. It's also another Rekka type move that changes depending on the button press. This sort of dashing attack. A DP. And that's the extent of her moves in C style. So what are some system-specific things? So now I've entered max mode. What that means is I can cast as many supers as I want until max mode is over. And when it has finished, I'll return to 200 meter. Additionally, I can activate heat. I can activate heat, which gives you a different half circle forward super, but we won't get too much into that, as well as the spark mechanic. Just know that it's similar to a Guilty Gear burst style move, so you do have that as a defensive option, in addition to the shield EX guard, and all of the assorted defensive mechanics that are in the game. Another thing of note is that in C style, with this character in particular, there are moves that she can charge. So if she charges her standing B, it becomes an overhead that can lead into a full combo. Additionally, so you can fully charge her C. Something to note about the C, before we get into the Halfmoon, is that you cannot use it as a typical bread and butter, because if you do, they'll be knocked full screen. So how does Halfmoon differentiate in this regard? Well, first of all, you'll see that you have only 200 meter to work with down there, in contrast to Sion's Crescent style, where she has 300 meter to work with in total. The same stuff works. You can use the same bread and butter into air grab, right? But you'll notice now, she can't charge the B. Additionally, she can't charge C, but C will no longer send them flying on sweep. So what are some system mechanics that are specific to Halfmoon? Well, you'll see you automatically go into heat without activation. When you're in heat, you also get an automatic burst, or a spark in this game. So you have automated system mechanics when you're in the Halfmoon style. So her normals, fairly similar, right? Then you get into the air normals. Her B is completely different now. It is now a cross-up. When you're in Halfmoon, because you automatically go into heat once you've reached your max meter potential, you have no max mode. Once your heat activates, you lose all of your meter once it's over. This leads to the Halfmoon style having very little control over their meter and what they want to do in a match, which is typically why a lot of people will learn the game with this style, but they won't necessarily stick to it, just because of the inconsistency that it brings. Which isn't to say that the style itself is bad, because it is still very, very good on many characters. Generally, you pick your style based on what you value more as a player, and not how the styles differ from within themselves. So onto the special moves. She still has the Rekka series, this DP Rekka series, the elbow, the DP, but now she has this teleport, right? And it can be performed in the air as well. On the ground she can only do it forward, but in the air she can go backwards with it as well. Something extremely crucial for the H and C moon types is that you actually have reverse beat, like in Under Night. So you can do a series and then go back into something like a standing A to reduce the lag on your crouching C or something, right? This can be useful as it keeps your block strings ambiguous, and they don't really know when you're going to be finished with your string. Now onto the Fullmoon style. You'll see that the normals are completely different. Standing A, crouching A, standing B, crouching B, standing C, crouching C. Jumping B, jumping C, jumping A. And this is typical for every character. Within multiples of the moons, their normals and special moves are completely different. So we'll look at the specials now. This is her Rekka series. It has now been set up to be this giant AoE type attack. She still has the Rekka type series with the DP motion. The elbow strike is still there. And the teleport has returned in this style. Your DP is also available. So something really important for the Fullmoon type is that you no longer have reverse beat. So you'll do all of this into a crouching C, and you cannot cancel it with a standing A. As a result, the normals of the Fullmoon type have better frame advantage on block in comparison to the Crescent and Half style. So your block strings will look more akin to a typical anime fighting game like Guilty Gear, where you'll do your string into a special move. However, you can still apply the bread and butter that you've learned from the other styles. This is accessible for almost every moon style on every character in some form or fashion. Fullmoon style also gets the max meter whenever they max out their magic circuit, so they will get max meter and then it'll return to 200, just like in Crescent Moon style. The Fullmoon style can't actually activate heat whenever they want. Instead, it's replaced with a charge that increases their meter. Once they've reached max, though, they can activate their blood heat. This is why I think the game is fun and different, is because there's around 30-something characters, but each of them have these different moon styles that make them almost completely different characters, and they play completely differently from one another. And this leads to character tiers not being as laid out as some other fighting games would be. Like, obviously you have your top tiers. There's the Fullmoon Hime or Crescent Moon Roa. But outside of that, all of the characters are on a fairly same level. The Nekos aren't good, though. This game is still pretty active among its Discord members. You can also find communities for this game on whatever social media site you use for fighting games. But yeah, I think this game should get a lot more groundswell than it has. It's incredibly fun. It's easy to pick up for anyone, really, no matter what your background is. And the new Under Night's coming out really soon, so all the more reason to play more French bread. And that's going to be it for this. Thanks for listening to me rant and ramble about a game that's kind of off the wall, but yeah, I'll see you guys next time. I'll have more content for you really soon.